Video working okay? Yes, yay. Okay. Can folks in the room see all you? Okay, start when ready. Yeah. Can folks see me like in the room, or is it just like my slides? Not that it matters, but I'm just curious, you know. I can only see Nick, so I can't see people. um okay. Oh, yay. All right. All right. All right. All right. If everything's good, then I guess I'll dive in. I can start talking. I see people frantically debugging things. Or just gonna check. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Fine. 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 I'll just go for it then. Oh, ignore that. Yes. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. Hey everyone. Ah, okay. 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 Yes. Hi. So hi. Hello everyone. My name is Yosh. I work at Microsoft, and today I wanna. Ooh, hold on. Let's go to the next slide. Oh, can I go to the next slide? There, next slide, next slide. Yeah, today I want to start by introducing you to my cats. This is Naughty Cat. Uh, this is Cheshire Cat. This is probably the most important part of the talk. I love both my cats. Now you get to see my cats. I want to show you my cats. That's very important. So anyway, hey, yes. So today we're going to be talking about WASI. I'm here. I wear many hats. I'm on many different groups, but today I'll be wearing the hat of the WASI subgroup, where I want to talk to you a little bit about the development of WASI, where we're currently at, the 02 release strain, what's coming up sort of like in the what we can expect for like the next 12 months roughly, and then go through the specific proposals and some of the progress that we're making there. I want to qualify this by saying like whatever I'm discussing here, some things will be non-normative. They'll be like, we hope to do this, rather than we'll definitely do this and this has been decided. I'll try and like call out that distinction. Also, while I'm representing the WASI subgroup here, decisions have to be made in the WASI subgroup. This is not the WASI subgroup. So if you're like, hey, can we decide X or Y? Please come to the subgroup meetings and we can pick it up there. Okay, yeah. Anyway, disclaimers out of the way. Let's dive in. So the WASI 02 release strain. Yeah. So in February. Oh my gosh, I'm seeing like lots of people move. It's like very distracting. I'm just gonna move away chat and move away people. Okay, so WASI 02 was released in February. We all voted on it. We made progress. It was accepted. It took 5 years to accept. We were all very happy. And then in August, we released WASI 021. So, you know, this year we've managed to, you know, after 5 years of not releasing WASI versions, we've released two WASI versions so far, which I think is pretty impressive, pretty good. Like I'm feeling really good about it. And that is oh, by the way, what you're seeing the slides here, this is a little train track. So if you're wondering like why does it look like this, imagine a little train going on a little train track. Yeah. Um, so we're here right now. We're in September. And between February and August, in terms of WASI, what we've been up to is defining the release process. So I want to explain a little bit like what that is, how that works, how I can expect that. If you've been attending WASI meetings, I have presented there before, but I'm assuming a lot of you haven't, so we'll be recapping that here. Um, the TLDR is we are releasing a new patch version of WASI every 2 months on the first Thursday. The first release started on August 1st. The next release will be next week, I believe. Whatever the 1st of October is, the first Thursday of October. And the way we make this possible is by having introduced two new, what are they called? They're called gates, feature gate. I believe it's gates. I think attributes, but the actual name is gates. The since gate and the unstable gate that allow us to mechanically, you know, version and extend WASI documents. So that looks somewhat like this. So say we have an interface, we can add a since gate. So they're not required, but we, you know, for all the WASI proposals, we have added them everywhere. You can add a since gate to denote when, in what version of a document, an API was introduced. You can add an unstable gate to add unstable, features behind a feature gate. And this is basically just a macro. It doesn't actually affect the compiled WASM, though we do like make sure that we include this data, I believe, in a custom section when we compile it. And then you can also keep the feature gate if you want for compatibility. So if your unstable is the same as your stable version, then, by keeping the feature gate, you don't get an error if people like still pass the same feature gate. The idea is that runtimes and other like tooling, they can introduce, experimental APIs or APIs that are in development, phase 2 APIs that want to get to phase 3 behind this gate, and everyone shares the same gate name. So like, oh, this is the gate. That's also tracked within the standards proposal within the process with this same name. So yeah, so that is how we introduce new APIs. And in order to like get them through the phase process, I hope I don't have to recap phases here, but phase 3 means it's stable, and it requires a vote from the subgroup where everyone says like, hey, we're in favor of progressing this. We believe it is good. We believe it is stable. And then we move. And then you remove the unstable gate. You add the synth gate. And voila, now everyone's rolled it out. And that depends on criteria, et cetera. But yeah, that's the rough idea there. Now, something that we haven't released yet, but has landed in the component model is the @deprecated gate. Our first release with one of these will be coming up in 0.22. The deprecated gate allows us to deprecate APIs and replace them with newer APIs without creating backwards incompatible changes. So it's warn rather than error. And the idea is that by deprecating things in the 0.2x timeframe, once we have a major version, next one would be 0.3. We get to remove everything that's been deprecated because, you shouldn't be using it. So there becomes like a warning becomes an error. The way that looks like this is, say we have, an API here that was introduced as 0.21. Now in 0.22, we might be like, okay, actually this is deprecated. Please use, the function C instead. So it's named B here. Please use C. And that is being introduced in new version. And then, that includes a deprecated gate. So this must always be paired with another like signature where we say, hey, this API was introduced in this version, was deprecated in this other version. And it's good practice to add a little note of like, okay, it's deprecated. Please use this instead, or here's why it was deprecated. We might extend the @deprecated notation to include more fields for that in the future, but we haven't yet. So for now, it's like docs only. But yeah, that's roughly what you can expect. Now, if someone tries to use B, or if it's detected, our like tooling is supposed to like issue a warning or notify the users of this somehow that they're using a deprecated API, and they probably shouldn't. So 0.2 release train. Yeah. Before we like go fully through, I just want to like acknowledge something, which is that, I sometimes feel like we are like working really hard, and we are always sort of looking at the future. And I find myself trapped there as well. It's always like, oh, cool, we shipped the thing. What's the next thing we can ship? But it's like, just want to take a second to like realize that there's always more work to be done. Like this is not going to stop, whether we hit like 0.3 or 0.4 or 1.0, or we're like it doesn't stop. So just want to say like, like, hey, I think we're doing well. I think we're doing well. I think we can like just give ourselves, I don't want to say we should give ourselves a round of applause, but like, I think we can feel a little bit proud that we shipped 0.2. And we've also shipped 0.21, and we're going to ship 0.22 soon. And like, we're well underway to like shipping 0.3, like things are progressing really well. And like, I don't know, like sometimes, yeah, I guess this is me ranting a little bit, but I'm like, I think like, there's looking at the timeline of like, how are we doing? Like, what features are we shipping? And then there's also like, how are we doing as like people? And, just want to say like, hey, it's really fun to work with y'all, like both within the BA and also within the WASI subgroup. So I just wanted to say thank you. Cause I'm enjoying it. Anyway, just a little reminder as we're like looking at the roadmap, next 12 months of work, just like also acknowledge that we have achieved like a lot so far. and that, you know, I feel like we've done so with a really nice group of people. So yeah, just putting that in there. Anyway, yeah, okay, great. With that in mind, let's actually dive into. I think I'm blushing a little bit. Anyway, with that in mind, yeah, let's take a little look at the release strain for the remainder of the year, the next 12 months. So 022 coming out in October, WASI 023 coming out in December, uh, and then presumably things will go on into 2025, February 024, March 025, etc. Um, and the thinking is, you know, that this will like keep going on until at some point we decide we are ready to ship 0.3. This is non-normative. This we've not decided on this in the WASI subgroup. This is my personal opinion. I've talked to some folks, but you know, a decision needs to be made about this. But I do want to speak to that a little bit, how I think the right way to go about this would be. So at some point we say like, you know, whether it's March or July or December, it doesn't matter. At some point, WASI 03 is done, released, or implemented, you know, and we're like, okay, we're ready to move forward with this. We have the vote. And what I hope we can do is attach that to the release strain. So if we, I don't know, vote in, you know, mid-June to say like, okay, we're ready for WASI 03, and we say, okay, great, we voted on it. This will, rather than 028, we will release WASI 030. And then from there on, we release WASI 031, 032, 033, etc. So we don't know when 03 will be ready. There will be a talk, I believe later today, if not tomorrow, specifically on the development of WASI 03. They will have all the details and they can speak more to the exact like, progress of that. But at least mechanically, I hope this is the way we can like play this out. So yeah, because you know, a lot of folks, they're waiting on 03, and I think it would be paramount if we could release 03 as soon as we feel like it is ready, but put it on the release strain so we can continue to like iterate on 03 from that point onward, like we have been on 02. So the way deprecation would play out for this, like what we would do is, oh yeah, I kind of explained this, but you know, all the APIs that have been deprecated, we would take them and remove them, and then only the other APIs remain. There's another thing where, you know, the other big change that will be part of 03, like the reason why we're releasing 03 is for the native async support inside of WIT and changing our APIs. They're currently using the poll-based async and WASI.io to switch that over. And that would be the other sort of big feature that includes in 03. But again, I defer to the actual, like, you know, talk on that later. So our proposals. That's roughly the timeline of the next 12 months, or at least the way I'm seeing that play out. So, you know, we will continue releasing versions in the 02 line until we are ready for 03. We still need to vote on the exact process of how that release will happen. But at least this is what I think might be, or I believe is a fairly sensible way to go about it. But we still need to decide on that formally. So for phase 3, like right now, our proposals, where are we roughly in this space? On phase 3, we have WASI.io, clocks, random, file system, sockets, CLI, and is HTTP the last one? Yeah, that's the last one. For 03, the intent is to remove WASI.io. Right now, WASI.io is sort of like, it's the everything dependency. All the other proposals depend on it because it gives us access to like async. It has the streams input in there. The intent is to move that into the component model, which will remove WASI.io from this list in the 03 time frame. For phase 2, so these are all stable, and we'll bring those over. On phase 2, right now we have WASI clocks, the time zone extension. We have WASI CLI, the exit with code function. These are tracked as separate proposals. They're marked as add-on stable. We're waiting for 2 implementations and for the champion to like say, hey, we are ready to move this forward. Then a vote will happen and then can move to phase 3. But yeah, those are extensions to existing APIs or existing proposals, sorry. Then we have WASI key value, which is in phase 2, WASI NN, which is phase 2, and WASI config, which I don't know if it's been formally renamed. At least in the repo, the world is now called WASI config. formerly known, I assume, as WASI runtime config. But yeah, this specifically seems to be one of the smaller ones and one that we might be able to drive sooner over the finish line, at least from talking to the champions. Yeah, in phase 3, we have a number of more proposals. Not all of these have their implementations or widths done. Or sorry, not all of these have corresponding widths. So I wasn't like, oh, here's the name of the world. This is what the proposals are called. In particular, WASI Observe here is interesting, as some form of that is being discussed, potentially integrating into the canonical ABI, because some form of logging or a debug stream might make sense. Because just like WASI.io, this feels like it has a lot of pull, and other implementations, most implementations may want to depend on this. So that, again, no decisions have been made, but this one's of interest and under discussion. The other one of note is WASI Web GPU, which is phase 3, but Mendy will be giving a talk about that later today, so expect more on that later. Yeah, then WASI Cloud. That's an interesting one, I think, where WASI Cloud was originally a single proposal, or I wasn't active when this was the case, but my understanding was it was a single proposal, which has since been broken up into several sub-proposals. So right now, WASI config, as we mentioned, is in phase 2. WASI key value is also in phase 2. Messaging is in phase 3. Blob store is in phase 3. And then there's distributed lock and SQL. I believe distributed lock and SQL are no longer being worked on. I don't know if they've officially been deprecated. I don't believe so. They're still being tracked. But my understanding is that these haven't quite worked out the way the champions hoped they would. So they may not be moving forward, or they have been de-emphasized at a minimum. So the WASI Cloud proposal, yeah, it seems to be moving forward quite well. Potentially, like, WASI key value may be done sooner than WASI config. So probably 023, 024, depending on how the votes go, depending on, whether we finish up in time. I believe messaging currently has a single implementation, or it has undergone like a revision right now with a single implementation, and they're looking for a second implementation in order to move it from like phase 3 to phase 2. Like, more feedback is needed there. And I don't actually know what the state of blob store is. My understanding is it's fairly similar to key value. So if key value moves, blob store will likely, be able to ride some of that momentum, at least from phase 3 to phase 2. Yeah, that's roughly where WASI Cloud is at. Then for non-WASI, just want to make sure that we mentioned this. WebIDL browser, which is another work by Mendy, who will be presenting on Web GPU. This is not on the standards track. This is outside of WASI, but it felt like I should mention this, that this does exist and has seen work, which is a mechanical mapping of the WebIDL, the JavaScript browser API defined in WebIDL to WIT. Yeah, I don't know if it's being discussed during any of the tracks, but you can check this out on GitHub to learn more. But this is of note because this seems to be the most promising way to get us, like, access. Okay, one more time. To allow arbitrary languages to compile and work inside a browser, which is one of the things that seems to be very much desired. And just wanted to make sure we mentioned it. So final little bit here is host 03, what will it take to stabilize WASI. So this has not really been fully discussed yet, or we don't have complete insight into yet. We just know we have certain questions, not necessarily with answers yet. But something that we're currently discussing, and again, this has to go through a vote before any decisions are made. But I want to make sure that I'm sharing the questions that are being discussed. It's, should we release after WASI 03? Does it make sense to release a WASI 04, or do we go directly to WASI 1.0, potentially with release candidates, several release candidates before we release the final 1.0? it's an important question because, releasing minor versions has its own cost because they're their own targets and they need their own support. So if we have 0.2 now, 0.3 is going to be added. Like, is it worth adding 0.4 or should it be 1.0? The other one is, what are the guarantees for 1.0? Like, does that truly mean we don't make any backwards incompatible changes? I believe this is the implicit assumption we're currently making, but it's not been formally defined, and we will need to like discuss that in the subgroup and actually probably vote on it. I don't know, but it's a good question. The other one is for WASI 1.0 is should all proposals be versioned in lockstep? Once we go to 1.0, do all existing 0.3 proposals hit 1.0? Do we do it in phases? Do we do it in stages? Again, not the side. We don't have to answer these questions either, but I want to make sure that people like sort of get a sense of like what the questions are for post 0.3 and how we want to approach that. And then there's a question of like, how do we want to manage triples? Do we do it with feature flags? Are they the same triple? Do, compiler tool chains, how should they target these various worlds and proposals and like different things? And there's also a question of communication there. But I'm feeling fairly confident we can answer all of these. Luckily, we don't have to yet. But yeah, that's roughly where we're at. So 0.2 is shipping. 0.3 is well underway, and more will be discussed about that later in a later talk. And yeah, I don't know. Like as speaking for a WASI subgroup, like please feel free to like join meetings. If any of these proposals are interesting to you, please feel free to reach out, join in, discuss. If you'd like to help implementing, we can guide you, we can help you, help connect you with like implementers, or if you have feedback, like that's helpful too. We want to make sure that the standards, what we're doing here is a standardization process. We want to make sure that the standardization process serves the needs that people have of these standards. So, get involved, talk to us. I believe Bailey will be physically in the room, but Luke should also be there. But if you reach out like over Zulip, you can talk to me as well. So yeah, that's roughly all I had to share. So thanks everyone who's contributed. Thank you all for being here. And that's about it. Yeah. Thanks.
Thanks, Yosh. So I've turned the room mics back on. So are you available for questions, Yosh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So if people have questions, raise your hand or comment in team chat if you have a question, and then I can call on people so that we can do this kind of orderly between people that are here in person and people that are remote.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Any questions for Yosh? Okay. Alex has a question.
Just to confirm, you can hear me, Yosh?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I just want to confirm, there was some slides where you were saying that a lot of proposals were at phase 3. I just want to clarify, I think those are actually at phase 1. This, like, for example, messaging and blob store here. I just want to make sure it's a typo.
Yep, absolutely. It's a typo. In my mind, when I was making a slide, so I was like, yeah, phase 3 is, later, therefore less stable than phase 2. I meant phase 1. You're absolutely right. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Sounds good.
Oops.
Vouch it was late.
Was there another question in this corner? Yeah, Joe?
Yeah. Excuse me. I just want to clarify the WASI cloud. I see some confusions about it. It's actually called WASI Cloud Core. That's the proposal in WASI in the WebAssembly organization right now. And it does include the config key value messaging, blob store, SQL, and a missing one here is the HTTP, which is very important to implement like application targeting WASI Cloud Core. You want to do like HTTP, be able to process HTTP requests. but Yosh is right that distributed lock service is being excluded from WASI Cloud Core. So I guess one sentence to describe what that is a world that's addition to the current WASI CLI command world and WASI HTTP proxy world. It's a bigger world that includes WASI CLI, WASI HTTP, and WASI messaging that allows you to interact with cloud provider services. And it serves as an umbrella for a bunch of WASI proposals where you see this slide.
I appreciate the clarifications, Joe. That you're absolutely right. That WASI HTTP should have been part of this. And also, I appreciate you explaining the remainder of the things. Yeah, that's helpful. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, I'll add to that.
Yeah, over here.
No, so yeah, this is just Yosh. I'm just adding on because I figured you wanted people to kind of add on because you're doing calls to action. So
yes, please.
But yeah, like essentially, like for all intents and purposes right now, the dream is to have an actual WASI Cloud world target, a WASI Cloud core world target that you can hit. I would say there is a snowball's chance in hell in the next year that would actually be the case. That's why each thing has done being done individually. But I did want to also say you were completely correct. WASI config and WASI key value should be coming up soon. I'm hoping actually in birds of a feather tonight to kind of just circle up with people because we just finished a last round of feedback from WASI key value. And so having like that should be pretty close once we get some implementations updated. WASI config is pretty much ready to go. WASI blob store just needs a once over and some TLC from like me and Joe when we have something in our infinitely available time. And then WASI messaging is I currently have some stuff out there to drastically simplify and start from a simpler base and then move on from there. So those are kind of where everything's at currently. But yeah, we can talk more in the birds of a feather this afternoon.
Appreciate it. But by the way, quickly to confirm, because I don't have video of the room, that was Taylor Thomas?
Yeah, that was me, Yosh.
Okay, I was like, I think it's your voice, but I just want to confirm. Thank you. I appreciate it.
One thing for people local here, if you're on Teams on your laptop, it can help remote people hear better if you turn off your mute locally and speak into the closer mic. Or no, don't. The opposite of that.
Turn on your.
Turn on your video. Okay, sorry.
That would be bad.
Misheard the game of telephone. Yeah, sure.
Question for Yosh. What guidelines are provided to language compilers like Go to integrate WASI to its standard library, given WASI follows a 2-month release cadence for patch versions, while Go follows a 6-month release cadence?
That's a great question. So we haven't defined like official guidelines. These have not been accepted, but I can speak what I believe should be the answer here. Like this is just my personal take here. But I think the approach here should be somewhat similar to the way toolchains follow WASM core features, where on some rolling basis they decide to upgrade or include. So what I would recommend for Go or Rust or any other language is to pick a version and implement that. And as whether it's 6 months or 12 months later, is pick some other version and implement that. And they should establish for themselves like what the right path of upgrade there is. What we guarantee in the WASI 02X timeframe is we make sure that we never make backwards incompatible changes. So upgrading to a later version within the same like minor release family should never result in breakage. Does that make some sense? Yeah. Okay. Great.
Alex.
I can add on to that a little bit and say that the intention is that languages and runtimes, consumers, basically everyone can upgrade as fast as they want or as slow as they want, and everything should interoperate as much as it can. In the sense that if Go upgrades to 024 early next year, and you're running on a Wasmtime that only supports 022, that'll actually work just fine as long as you don't actually use anything from 024 that's there. So that's the intention of that. The versions are all there, but it's intended to mostly coordinate, but it's intended of, it's not expected that Go or Rust or anyone will stick on 020 for years and then very, very slowly update. It's intended that everyone kind of updates their own pace, and that's it.
100%.
Any more? Yes, Scott.
Hi. Yeah, you had WebIDL on there. Why is it that you had it as not part of WASI, separated like that?
Yeah, for sure. The rationale there, yeah. So the rationale there is that this is a bit of a soft one where it's like, like it could be maybe, but roughly our thinking right now, informal thinking, again, no votes have been happened, but at least within the group, the thinking is the WASI, what do we call it? Oh my gosh, I had it here. But the WebIDL browser projection takes WebIDL, like the actual WebIDL definitions, which are part of the W3C. They follow their own standards track. And what we're doing, or what is being done, is a fully mechanical translation of that into WIT. So it doesn't really feel like the intent of the WASI proposals is to create a best-in-class representation of a certain domain. So when we take HTTP, what we say is like, hey, here's our interpretation of what we believe a portable HTTP interface should be like. The WebIDL projections, they're mechanical. They say like, hey, this is what a browser is. Yeah, we'll take everything in, and we're going to convert it to WIT verbatim. That means there is also duplication between domains. For example, the mechanical projection of the WebIDL for WebGPU will be different than what the handwritten WebGPU bindings might be, or they can diverge. And so there's a difference between like who authors it, what is the decision-making process. And so that is rough because it's part of a different standards body and it's defined by a different standard. It's sort of intentionally kept different. Though, like something that's been floating around, again, that this is not decided on, but ideally, if we could wave a wand and we could define a thing, it would be that the web standards would not just provide a WebIDL projection of their own APIs, but they'd have a canonical definition where they say, hey, if you take WebIDL, here's the right way to map it to WIT, and it would be part of their standard, not on the WASI side. But they've not committed to that. We haven't asked any of that. Like WIT is still like being progressed. So for now, it exists outside of any standards track. Does that make sense?
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Do we have more time?
Yeah, we have time.
Okay. I can add a little bit more sort of historical context to this as well. WASI in the P1 timeframe was not just a set of APIs, it was also an ABI and a kind of execution model, or in fact, we had the reactor and the command execution model that was all rolled up into WASI as, yes, hi, Yosh, but still, as part of the one standard WASI. WASI P2 and onwards are WASI. The WASI part of all of this is a blessed set of APIs and nothing else, very much intentionally, which means WASI isn't kind of above other things and it doesn't have magical out of band powers that other APIs can't replicate. It's fully virtualizable, very much also intentionally. And it is not meant to be the one place that everything has to go through to be kind of production quality, the best thing possible. And not for all APIs going through a WASI standardization process will be the right call or necessary in any way. Again, this is all very, very much intentional. And for exactly the reasons Yosh described, for WebIDL binding, generated or based auto-generated bindings for a specific environment that is fully defined elsewhere, there isn't all that much to do in a WASI context because, well, the APIs, there isn't much wiggle room. All the WASI subgroup could do is kind of talk about, is this mapping the right thing? And I agree with Yosh that that's probably better left to the people actually doing WebIDL instead of a group that isn't fully focused on that domain.
Full agreement. Thank you for adding the context there, Till.
Any other questions, comments, clarifications? All right, thanks again, Yosh. Another round of applause. So we're going to have a, oh, sorry.
Good, thank you for having me. We're good.
So we're going to have another break. We are going to come back together at 11:15. So that's 19 minutes from now. I think there's maybe more snacks.